A badge of honor. Police officers and first responders wear badges to let their communities know they are here to protect and serve. But that's not how it feels today, and the stress of the job is taking its toll, taking lives through suicide and post-traumatic stress injury. A Badge of Honor podcast features the cast of the same name, Sam Horwitz and John Salerno. Sam, John, and the team offer the first responders workshops through their critical incident stress management teams and mental health liaisons to offer state-certified T-COLE credit programs that save lives. It's time to smash through the stigma. It's time to heal from your injury, and it's time to back our blue. Welcome to A Badge of Honor podcast. Here are your hosts, Sam Horwitz and John Salerno.
Hey, welcome to A Badge of Honor podcast, powered by the OBBM network with John and Sam. Hey, Sam.
Hey, John. How's it going, partner?
Not too bad, but you're frozen up. You look like a ventriloquist for a second. Your mouth was shut, but I heard, "Hey, partner, how you doing?" But you
Am I back?
You look like a little puppet. Yeah.
Okay, good.
No, man, it's been hot in Texas for the last couple of days. We may have some internet problems because, man, they are shutting down grids, and man, ERCOT is just slowing everybody's roll in because we have had some massive temperatures over the last few days. So please bear with us if we do freeze a little bit, or if we do having some of those little sun flares, whatever you want to call them.
Solar flares, yeah.
Solar flares,
well,
whatever.
I cooked breakfast outside today.
You did?
You know, the egg on the sidewalk. No, I didn't.
Oh.
We just call what's going on in Texas just stupid.
Yeah.
But you know what? It's so blessed. First of all, our prayers and blessings and for safety and everything go out to all of our first responders. Because John, you and I wearing that body armor, we've been there, done that in this heat. Do not forget to hydrate, keep water with you at all times, and getting that AC whenever possible. You got to take care of yourself.
Yeah, because if your body's overheated and your mind is overheated, and it puts you into a bad spot, because then you could become aggravated, agitated. That the high temperatures will play a role in mental health. So you want to keep your body core temperature pretty cool at all times, because if you are battling, if you are suffering, that's just one more thing that you don't want to have to worry about is your body core temperature. I do want to bring up, resources that we use and resources that we vet out through A Badge of Honor and multiple other platforms that we use. I can't stress this enough to use them, to make sure that you have them in your phone readily available. This past week, we lost somebody who had the resources. We do walk the bridge. He's walked the bridge. He's been part of our, our mental health awareness programs. And, he ended up taking his life over the past week. And there were resources out there. He knew about him. Everybody that he was surrounding him knew about the resources. But you know what? Sometimes we sometimes just fail to see those signs. We have to be more diligent in looking for those signs and asking those hard questions and moving on. And even though it's uncomfortable, we really do have to take that extra step. So I would like to dedicate this broadcast to Iron Man. He is with the Nine Brothers, and he passed away this last week. So God bless his family members and the biker community out there.
Absolutely. And, part of taking care of yourself includes, being still and really processing and understanding what is going on, because first of all, life is busy, and we tend to run, as Mark Junkerman said on a couple podcasts ago, you're flying around 900 miles an hour. You're not stopping to check in on yourself. And I was just listening to another podcast with Ryan Holiday, who wrote The Obstacle is the Way, wonderful book, and many others. And he also wrote Stillness is the Answer. And sometimes we just gotta be still enough to process what is going on, so we can be cognizant and realize, hey, I do need help. And what does that help look like? It can come in many forms. it's basically, what does help look like for you? And tonight we have on some incredible guests. They are not only just personal friends for a long time, they're partners in the Continuum of Care program with us through Carry the Load. And we want to welcome David and Charla Truesdale with the Warrior Spirit Project. Hey guys, welcome to the podcast.
Welcome, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Go ahead, John.
Okay, Sam.
No, I was
going to say, it was a perfect segue when you were talking about that podcast about being still. Because before we came on air, we started, I was talking about a little bit of yoga. And that's one thing that we all, as first responders and veterans, fail to do, is stay still for 5 minutes, for 8 minutes, for 10 minutes. It's a workup, because we're always thinking, our minds are always running. But even a 5-minute yoga session could really decompress your insides, could really put you in a different mental state. And you'd be surprised if you could just relax in those moments, how chill you'd be.
Yeah, well, we're going to get into what Warrior Spirit Project does, and specifically with Charla and David. But before we do that, please tell everybody watching and listening about your backgrounds, like where you came from, how you got to form Warrior Spirit Project after what you guys experienced.
Okay, so she's nudging me, so I guess that means that I got to jump in.
You go first.
Okay, first, my name's David Truesdale, and I grew up in a Marine Corps family. My father was a career Marine officer. Both my brothers joined the Marine Corps right out of, essentially right out of high school, each of them, when it was my turn to join the Marine Corps, because I expected that's what I was expected to do. My father asked if I would not join the Marine Corps, not enlist in the Marine Corps, but go to college and try to get into an officer candidate program. So ultimately, I did. I didn't jump off right away. I went to college, applied for an OCS program, and was not accepted. It was back during the oil crisis in Texas, and they took 2 practicing attorneys for the class that I wanted. Of course, the recruiter says, hey, enlist, and as soon as you get to boot camp, they're going to say, you're a college boy, go off to OCS. Well,
because recruiters never lie.
I never lie. So I said, time out on that one. Ultimately, I worked for the state of Texas for a couple years as a state parole officer. And then from there, I was hired with, at the time, the organization was called NIS, Naval Investigative Service. Years later, they changed the name. They actually changed the name several times during my 27 years with them. Ultimately, they became NCIS.
My favorite show.
Yeah. So if I'm like anybody, I'm a little bit like Gibbs. They don't allow you to hit people in your office. But
So you did 27 years in NCIS or NIS?
Yes. I did 26 years, retired. Then they called me and asked me to come back for a year and do some recruiting, background investigations, and hiring boards.
Very interesting.
So
very interesting field.
Yeah, it was a good job. I got to do a lot of things. I served in Iraq in 2004 as a counterintelligence, human intelligence team leader for a joint military and civilian team. We went out and about in the red zone and collected intelligence and captured bad guys and basically did good things to bad people. And then later, just before the end of my career, I wanted to go back on another deployment. We spent 15 years outside the country. But just before retirement, I asked to go back on another combat deployment. And they assigned me to a group, Special Operations Command in Afghanistan. So I went there for a fantastic tour. So
So
Relatively
you
speaking.
saw a lot. Yeah. So, Charla, how about you?
Well, I nudged him to go first because that sets up where I come in and where, I followed him all over the world, basically. Not everywhere, because he had to check some places out first to see if it was okay for both of us to go to. And usually it wasn't, but I did get to move around with him and carry my career with me. And so I was actually a health promotion specialist at the time. So I did a little work, I worked with the government too, with the Marine Corps usually, because that's where we were usually assigned, a Marine Corps base. But within all of that, I decided that yoga was something that I had been interested in for a long time and never thought of myself as a yoga teacher, really didn't think that that would be my path. But one of the places I worked at near Camp Lejeune, the owner of the facility there wanted me to go ahead and get certified as a yoga teacher so that we could bring yoga into the facility that she owned. So I did, and been teaching yoga ever since and loved it. And that was back in 2001. And it was right before 9/11. So when 9/11 happened and everything that happened after that, I just really started to think about how yoga might be helpful for veterans who are returning. And that was when my initial thought process was working with veterans. And just had it in the back of my mind and never really did anything with it other than think about it and write some things down to remember on occasion. And when the timing was right, which was about 2009, some things started falling into place to make it more of a reality than just a vision. And by the time David retired, I had already decided to retire myself from teaching other types of classes and was interested in seeing what we could do with some yoga with veterans initially. And we talked about it on the back deck one day, and I said, hey, I even have a name for it. See, this had been in my head for a long time. I had everything worked out, but unfortunately the name was already taken because he looked it up. And the organization that had the name actually did training in trauma-informed yoga. And so I signed up for their next training. And in the meantime, had no intention of starting a nonprofit. I just wanted to take yoga to some groups and teach them some ways to that stillness that you talked about. But it was not meant to be that simple. So we actually were founded officially in 2015. Had started a class with another nonprofit for their veterans, and then we quickly realized that the first responder community was really part of our community, and we needed to bring it to them as well. So 2016, we became a 501c3, and we've been going strong ever since.
Wow,
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yes.
We are talking with Charla and David Truesdale from the Warrior Spirit Project. We've got to take our first break. We'll be right back, everybody. Stay tuned.
All right.
Move freely, America, without medical restrictions or penalty. Without medical freedom legislation in place, our rights and freedoms are one vote away from being dissolved. Move freely, America, with one voice, without fear of retribution, achieving a common goal, medical freedom. We the people make our voices heard by connecting with state legislators and engaging a constitutionally compliant medical bill of rights for all citizens. Individually, change is improbable, but as an aggregate, attainable. It's time to act with one voice. My voice.
And my voice.
And my voice.
And my voice.
To protect our freedom, creating one voice that cannot be ignored. This requires your voice, too. Move Freely America. Go to movefreelyamerica.org to find a chapter near you. Plug in, donate, and help our legislators defend our God-given rights under the Constitution. Move Freely America. My voice.
And my voice.
And together with your voice, we're one voice that cannot be ignored. Donate today. MoveFreelyAmerica.org.
Hey, welcome back to a Badge of Honor podcast with John and Sam and Charla. Am I saying
Charla.
it right? Charla.
Charla.
Charla and David with the Warrior Spirit Project. Thank you guys. If if you missed the front of the show, man, they have a very interesting background through the Naval Investigation Unit, and you were Charla, you were following him around and doing special ops and everything else with him, and got into the yoga aspect of it and trying to slow our warriors down a little bit and get back inside themselves so their mental health is a little stable. Is that correct?
That's pretty much
Spot
it.
on.
See, I was listening. Listening.
I'm curious, when you recognize that the warriors returning from OEF, OIF, coming back, needed to slow themselves down, needed some yoga. And then you realize, hey, first responders need that. There's a different component in the way that first responders and the military work. But I'm curious, what was your first class like? Like how many warriors did you have?
Actually, that's kind of a funny story because our first class was going to be a trial run, and we had these friends in another organization, Farmers Assisting Returning Military. I'll give them a plug. They're still out there too. And we just kind of barged into their first location. That is no longer their location, but we kind of barged in and just to talk to them and say, hey, this is what we want to do. And I really just wanted to talk to them about maybe letting us try it out with them, because they had veterans coming into their home farm, and they said, hey, can you start next Tuesday? After spending an hour just listening to what we wanted to do. And I said, well, I'm going to go to this special training for trauma-informed yoga, but I mean, I can come do what I know. And they said, well, come on out. And we came out, and we probably had 2 or 3 the first time. And the interesting thing about our philosophy is that we are a little bit unique in that we don't care if it's just one person or 100, because we know that if we impact that one person, we're impacting more than that one person. It's kind of like the ripple effect. And if anyone has ever lived with someone with PTS and knows some of the things that can be distressing in the family or with friends as they struggle, those around them can struggle too. And so when they feel better, those around them get some of that as well. So our numbers are, obviously it depends on where we are and who we're working with, whether it's collaborating with a big group or doing it right here in our little home studio. We might have 3 people. We've had as many as 100 and 200 people in one room.
Yeah.
And so it just really depends on where we are and what the venue is at that moment.
That's fantastic. Sorry, John, when you think about, military guys and women, they've just returned from something, and people's first thought probably isn't yoga, but it should be, because you need the physical aspect of taking the stress away, along with helping you to examine your mind of what you might need, whether it's on the couch or whether yoga and the kind of breathing, which I'm not an expert in all what things are called, but the breathing is very different than, for instance, what you're taught, like sitting on a practitioner's couch. And I know we're kind of like diving in to the deep end in terms of yoga, but the breath aspect in that work is so key. Was it an easier sell for first responders to become involved, or was it still?
Well, no. We actually have, I'm going to just talk a minute about the type of yoga we do, but then I'd like David to talk about the I-rest meditation, because that has really been the door for us to convince the first responder community that this is something that they would really benefit from. Because the yoga we do is not like a typical, I don't want to use the word typical because every class is different, but what you might think of as a yoga class. And you mentioned the physical aspect. The real focus of our yoga is to activate the relaxation response and to get in tune with the messages of the body, like you were talking about in your opening. We really want to help our participants recognize those messages of the body. And so when we practice our yoga, we're constantly talking about, where do you feel that, or how does that feel? Focus on how this feels instead of what you're supposed to look like. And that's really the emphasis of our yoga practice. And the breath is a key part of that. And then the meditation that we do, David can tell you the origin of that. And that just, that's what really got us into the Dallas Police Department, for example. We have introduced this meditation to almost 300 Dallas police officers, probably over now, because initially we did it through the Center for Brain Health. And we were using their facility for our classes, and they had a mindfulness program for the police department and invited us to come in and be part of that. They actually wanted us to facilitate it, but we were too busy to do that. So we just offered the iRest as part of that program. And then now we are fully engaged with the Dallas Police Department Wellness Unit and visiting their headquarters and doing a yoga and meditation class with them about monthly. We just started with that. But you want to tell them a little bit about the iRest?
Well, yeah, let me back up just a little bit too. So I'm a lifelong martial artist. Okay, so since I was a kid, I've been studying martial arts. I'm 65 now. So I've been studying and practicing and teaching martial arts for a number of years. It's a hard sell to try to sell sometimes veterans, first responders on yoga, because we have a perception of yoga, which is not really an accurate perception. And so, you know, in the business of law enforcement and military service, sometimes we see things, we make judgments. And if your intelligence is not supporting that, or if your lack of intelligence in the being informed of something doesn't lead you to believe that this is a good thing, then you're going to kind of shy away from it. So
I think goat yoga put a damper on the whole thing. I really think
no goats.
No goats. Goat yoga is.
I've witnessed that. Yeah. I've witnessed goat yoga, and it doesn't look fun.
Okay. So we live in the country, and people out here would look at you if you ever said, "I'm gonna put a goat on top of me," and then try to do something, and they'd look at you like you're not very bright. So if you think about things that, okay, if you're a patrolman or you're somebody involved in combat operations, sometimes you have to dynamically move. You may have to open a car door or jump out of a Humvee or jump out of a helicopter and start moving right away. Well, one of the components of physical fitness is flexibility. So if you think of it from that standpoint, if your partner goes, "Man, I'm not doing that yoga stuff. That's for, wimps." You go like, "No, because I'm really flexible. And so I can jump out and chase down bad guys better than you can because you don't do yoga." So I'm throwing out talking points for convincing. And then when you went back to the sitting still, so if you think of doing any kind of surveillance, whether it's in a combat operation or if it's in a law enforcement operation, what are you trying to do? You're trying to sit still, or you're trying to hide. If you're, I can think of times hiding in the woods or hiding in the city or hiding in a foreign country in the city and wanting to be as still and as quiet as I possibly could because I didn't want to be detected. That's an advantage that you can gain through learning the breath and having the flexibility to be in a posture that maybe is not the most normal posture. So there's a lot of benefits, one for the active duty military or the active first responder. So throwing all that out, that's a good reason to get involved in something like our program or somebody else's program that teaches something which would help flexibility and breath control.
Well, that's fascinating. Yeah, that's fascinating. And I wanna talk about, when we come back from the next break, it's trauma-informed yoga, where again, this is very different than just pulling up into a parking lot, going to a yoga studio. Stay tuned, everybody. We will be right back after this break.
Interested in starting a podcast or TV show? Worried about what you'll say and how to keep it engaging? Think you'd like to be a guest on podcast, radio, or TV shows? Hi, I'm Susan Hamilton, owner and founder of OBBM Network, and I would like to invite you to an OBBM media training to get the tools you need for a relaxed and polished performance you'll be proud to share. Our specialized training techniques include role play, voice training, and everything you need to deliver a confident, clear, and engaging interaction. Go to offbeatbusiness.com. Go to the calendar and register for a training that's convenient for you. Dates available now, 214-714-0495.
Hey, welcome back to a Badge of Honor podcast with John and Sam, powered by the OBBM Network. With Warrior Spirit Project, we have David and Charla. We were just discussing the yoga techniques that really benefit our first responders in our military. You know, David, you brought up a point just before we broke about surveillance, and I was one who did a lot of surveillance. I was undercover for a long time in the job, and I remember sitting in cramped vans and certain things where, you know, my patients and like all first responders in military, we have zero patience. We want something to happen right now, you know? So when you're sitting for a couple hours, those yoga techniques really can like center you to a point where, you know, you're not becoming impatient. You're not getting that anxiety feeling, and you're going to be able to smooth through that project or that operation with a lot easier than most.
And I'm not a brain scientist, but I'm going to throw in a little brain science here to go along with what David said, because those are the very practical talking points that everyone can relate to.
Right.
But even on a deeper level, when your anxiety level is up, or you have some type of emotional response to something, angry or whatever the case may be, that part of your brain kicks in full force, which means your thinking brain goes offline. So another benefit of being able to do these practices is to regulate the nervous system, which is really what trauma informed is all about, is resetting and regulating the nervous system so that the thinking brain, the one that you need to make those critical decisions, is fully online, and the responses are not based on emotional reactions.
Right.
Absolutely. So if you know, our audience, we have a diverse audience. So if there's a first responder or a veteran or an active military person that's listening, you know, why is it important to make the distinction in terms of like, well, if you're just talking yoga, why can't, you know, my friend has a studio down the street, you know, so I can do CrossFit and then I can do yoga. What you just said about the brain, it's trauma-informed yoga. They're very specific and very different. So why is it important for us to understand that distinction?
Well, it really is all about the brain and the nervous system. We're using our bodies, we're doing some postures, but we're doing them in a very different way. And the difference in them is that we are focusing on the nervous system response. So when you work if you work in law enforcement or any field that requires your alert, your status of being alert to be sky high all the time, your nervous system is in fight or flight, or it's ready to go. And then you go do CrossFit or something like that keeps your nervous system elevated, not like being anxious, but just being ready to go, fight maybe. And so it keeps it up at that state. And so it's good sometimes I would say often it's good. Those types of movements are good for a little bit of physical stress release. I think we can all agree we feel a little bit calmer after a workout, or we feel, a little bit more quiet, but it's a little bit different quiet because the body's been exhausted and it's, it can rest for a little bit. But what our yoga does is work on the rest of the nervous system so that when something happens to elevate you, then you go to the point where you need to be, but then you can come back down to where you can actually function a little bit more evenly so that you don't stay up here. And we call that a window of tolerance, and it actually gets bigger the more you do these resilience type practices like yoga and the iris meditation, because your nervous system learns, I can be up here when I need to be, but I also know when I don't need to be here, and I can come back down.
Well, here's a big question for you with the yoga. And I've seen, when you talk about the ripple effect, we see a lot of West Coast fire departments now all doing yoga. They've really taken it as a part of their training. When is a good spot for a first responder? Pre-tour or after tour, or both? Because pre-tour is going to bring you down, keep you in a good mindset. That's where you're not hitting a job at 100 miles an hour. And then post-tour, so it can bring you back down to the normal life levels. So what is a happy medium?
So I think if you're talking like before a shift or after a shift or in the middle of a shift. So here's a good way to look at it. First thing that we do when we wake up in the morning, and we've done this for about 1,670 some odd days. I'd have to look at my little app to know.
In a row.
But we've done meditation every single day for about 1,700 days in a row. So that's an awesome way to get up. We get up, swish your mouth, go to the bathroom, and then do a meditation, about a 20-minute, 25-minute meditation.
Before or after coffee?
Before coffee. Coffee comes after. Yeah.
But coffee definitely comes after.
Coffee definitely comes after.
Yeah. But I'm right there with John. I gotta say.
So then if you think about, that's a great way to start the day, and that would be before shift. If you're a patrolman, thinking in the first responder manner, if you're a patrolman and you get in your vehicle and you get a call and you roll out, and it's a nothing call, it's kind of dumb, you handle it, you might get yelled at, fussed at by somebody, and then so now I'm a little worked up, and then I get back in my car and I got to write a report, and then I roll back out on another call almost right away, and I get out, and this one's a little bit more serious, and then I finish up at that. Maybe I get screamed at again, and then I roll back out. Now I'm starting to get amped up. About my third or fourth call or fifth call out, I've had it. I'm about up to here with people's nonsense.
Right.
And then I come across a grandmother or a mother who has an issue which is really important to her, but for us, it's a zero. It's not a life emergency, and we go off because we have built up to here, and we haven't had that ability to come back down.
Right.
So you can use the breath technique, as Sam was talking, in the middle of your shift. When you get back in the car, you can sit down and do some diaphragmatic breathing to help bring yourself back down. So the next call you roll out, you're back within that window of tolerance. So I'm not just going that stair step till the very end when I do something that maybe I regret.
Right. So David, you touched on breath work, because correct me if I'm wrong, that breathing in yoga, it's always in through the nose, out through the nose, right?
No.
Okay.
and
then time out.
That's okay. And the reason I said it,
this is important to know, because there's so many Like if people are just want to go on YouTube and look up the different things, you're going to get the in through the nose, out through the nose. So let's talk about that.
Absolutely. And that's because some people say that their way is the right way, and you don't deviate from that because this is the way that I learned. So in through the nose, out through the nose. One of the things that makes our yoga different is we can work with anybody. We've worked with, and we're going to do another plug here for a wonderful organization in the DFW area, the Adaptive Training Foundation. Mm-hmm. And we've worked with their adaptive athletes. And so the ability for anybody to do our yoga is really important for us. So there is no one way. So if somebody tells you, well, you have to do it this way, then, that's their belief. But our belief is we want you to find what works. If you've had, if you've been a fighter or you've been involved in a car accident and your nose, you can't breathe, or you wake up in the morning and you've got serious allergies. I can't breathe through my nose today.
Can't do yoga.
I can't do yoga because I can't breathe through my nose. So
it's an excuse. Oh.
There you
no
go.
excuses with our yoga.
That's it. No coffee for you. So
that's
yes,
getting me
many times people will tell you, well, you should do it this way. Well, we want you to find your way.
Yeah, and there are reasons for all of those guidelines, but they're just guidelines. It's a very personal practice, and that's, what we're all about, helping you find your own expression of yoga, and we're just guides for you.
Well, that's incredible. We've got to take another quick break. We will come right back and continue our conversation. Stay tuned, everybody.
Hi, welcome to Heroes in Action. I'm Ray Amanat, founder and creator of this training system. I originally made it so that everyone can train for free. We have programs for kids, for women, families, and businesses. I'm an author, speaker, and educator on everything that has to do with violence and bullying prevention education. If you'd like more information about who we are and what our programs are, please go to our website at heroesinaction.us or give me a call if you have any questions at 727-314-2534. We hope to see you here to train.
Hey, welcome back to a Badge of Honor podcast with John and Sam, with David and Charla from Warrior Spirit Project. Welcome back, guys. Before we took our break, we were talking about just being mindful and way to breathe and things you can do on patrol, out in the field, just to bring your anxiety levels down. And yoga is probably the only way and best way to do it, between breathing and stretching. And it's something I think has taken on a different outlook throughout our first responder and veteran communities. People are doing this more. People are learning that the benefits of this really outweigh the stigma that you're not wearing yoga pants. You're doing this for your own self. And I think a lot more of the manly guys are really taking hold of this and saying, wow, this really, really works. It's not only helping me with my career, it's not only helping me with my anxiety at work, it's making me a better person at home. It's making me more relaxed at home. I'm not yelling at the dogs or the kids or the wife or the husband. I'm really becoming the family person I'm supposed to be through just these easy, sometimes 20-minute techniques. That's all it takes.
Yeah. And that's a great thing to look at. And again, you mentioned being that family person. One of the things, as we mentioned earlier on about the ripple effect, is we recognize that PTS can affect or does affect the entire family and the friends and family, everybody around. So one of the things in our organization is we serve the family too. So if there's a spouse of a veteran, first responder, active duty member, we gladly service them too, because we know that could be that draw to bring in the active or the veteran member. And
Kind of like
so
a
that's
couples yoga you're talking about, like couples?
Oh,
We've done that too.
We've done that too. We worked
Okay.
with the Wounded Warrior Project and did a couples yoga, and that was great, and it was fun, and it was kind of like a date night for some of them. So
Yeah.
Well, I also think it's helpful because you have two people that are, separated by either oceans if somebody's deployed, or just if somebody's working shift work, somebody's at home with the kids, and it's something that can bring them together. Yeah. And in that, the understanding that goes along with it, because we all have those days where it's like, God, I got to go home, and I don't want to explain my day to my spouse. And if you can learn to come together and make that connection, and then you both utilize the breath work, you've created a connection that is going to work all the time. Because you'll have somebody saying, "Oh, you look like you may have had a rough day," or let's sit down and let's just breathe, or right. Let's go do a yoga. Let's get it.
Yeah.
And you guys have your classes. Let's get it. I'm looking at the time. You guys have most of what you're doing. I checked out your schedule. That is online, so you can log in to that class and be at home. So it's not like, we got to drive out to where y'all are. You are in our homes with our families if we choose that.
Yes. When COVID started shutting things down, because we were going out and we had classes all throughout the DFW Metroplex, which was our location at the time. And so we had, we'll call them warriors, first responders, veterans, they're all warriors. So we had warriors from different parts of the city that would come to different classes depending on where we were. When COVID hit and the VA shut down and the Center for Brain Health shut down and the rec centers shut down and everything started shutting down, we knew how important it was, so we went virtual. And the virtual classes were fantastic early on. Of course, people start getting burned out of doing virtual, and now that things have opened back up, some of the classes are very small, but we have members who have been with us for years that still come to our classes, which is a testament to the effect that it has had on them.
We have some that moved out of the area that still come virtually because they still want to be part of it.
Yeah.
And part of our emphasis is on the community. It's not just the techniques of yoga. We build community. We consider all of our participants very close community and even family, especially those who have been with us for quite a while. So that's a big piece of it, is building that community. If you want a real blast of the past, you can go to our YouTube channel and see all of those classes we did during COVID, because we recorded them and put them on YouTube so they could still be used, even on your own time.
I'm looking at your calendar now, your session schedule off your website, and me, who knows nothing about computers and stuff, you've made this so user friendly, where like I'm clicking on like Wednesday, just click on it. And then it's join here. Click to join here, and that brings you right into the virtual studio.
Yes.
Yes.
It doesn't get easier than that. It does. There's no really login. It doesn't. It's. You've made it very user friendly. I'll tell you that.
One button.
One button. This one. Yeah. So, now they can't do the poses for you. Like Charla said, there are poses that go along with it. But for everybody that's listening, their website is warriorspiritproject.org. And so you can get an idea of what John was talking about. All the classes are there. In the beginning of the podcast, we talked about, I think, the dirt part of, if you go on, you see yoga, dogs, and dirt. We talked about the yoga part. Dogs? real quick, where did our four-legged fuzzy friends? I mean, I brought my dog to the iRest that you guys did out here, and Frodo, who's right next to me here, he was about as I don't know if he could get more chill, but he was way chilled out during that iRest meditation that we were doing.
Yeah, I remember Frodo getting on your mat and not wanting to get off. So that happens. That happens.
So two things, and I know because we're going to be pushed up against time, I want to really hit on, and we're touch the dogs. iRest meditation. It's little I, capital REST, integrative restoration meditation. And this is for all the people out there that say, I don't do meditation. This meditation was developed and taken to Walter Reed Army Medical Center in 2006. And it was called Yoga Nidra at the time, and it was created by Dr. Richard Miller. And of course, the military, the government, in their infinite wisdom, we said, we're the military, we don't do yoga. So changed the name. We love what you're doing. So they flipped the name, changed it to iRest, Integrative Restoration Meditation. It's an evidence-based.
That's the word I couldn't understand. Yoga Nidra.
Yeah.
Yoga Nidra. Yes.
Okay.
I did that when I went on my stint for in Utah at a retreat. I did 30 days of that.
Okay, so iRest meditation is Yoga Nidra on steroids with some very, very important tweaks, because Yoga Nidra may take you for a walk, and you may go out in the woods, or you may go onto the beach, or you may go here or there. Well, that might not be a, and I hate this term, safe space, but that might not be a place that you want to go back to. You might have had a situation that involved the ocean. You might have had a situation that involved the woods. You might have had a situation that involved the city. So one of the things that, we don't do in iRest is take you on that kind of a journey. It's a journey through your breath and through your body and through your emotions. I don't tell you what to think. So
it's all about full awareness. It's all about full awareness, but it is, like David said, evidence-based.
Yeah.
And people could sample this right on your website. I was looking at some of the iRest for peace and well-being and for better sleep. So there's 10 and 20-minute sessions that you can just click on and do it in the privacy of your own home.
Absolutely.
And that's awesome. And with that, we got to take our very, very last break, and then we'll get into dogs. Be back in 20 seconds.
To the Health Engineer Show, I'm Cliff Bucoy, the Health Engineer, right here on the Offbeat Business.
Hi, I'm Larry Cordian. This is
Hi, my name is Susan Hamilton, and you're watching Offbeat. Hi, this is Doreen Milano. Welcome to Big Ideas Small Business, where we will talk to Terry Charla.
Hey, welcome back to a Badge of Honor podcast with John and Sam and David and
Charla.
With the Warrior Spirit Project. See, now I have to meditate. We've been talking about some very interesting stuff, Yoga Nidra and just mindfulness and how you can really bring yourself down at levels in 20 minutes a day, 10 minutes a day. You have to become, you have to make this a routine in your life, especially if you're a first responder. If you're battling if you're feeling those demons, man, take that 10 minutes. You will be surprised on what 10 minutes of breathing, stretching, and just moving yourself forward will have a change impact in your whole life.
Yeah. So in the last 2 minutes here, dogs and how people can get in touch with y'all.
Yes, our primary program, because we've talked about it all the time, is yoga and meditation. The Dogs Plus, we call it Dogs Plus now, is really just about creating some opportunity for that human-animal connection. So we even do a yoga with horses. But the dog piece is to, work with a local shelter, get a warrior in to have some dog time, and we don't do service dogs or anything like that. It's really just about opportunity for connection. The dirt piece is gardens, and it might be community gardens in an urban area like we had before, or it might be our garden out here where we bring someone out to just get a little dirt therapy and find ways to eat healthy, and just the whole package helps that whole continuum from not wanting to be around anybody else to being engaged with the community in a very meaningful way. And the best way to get in touch with us is just to go through our website, or you can find us on Facebook. You know, you can email me directly. You just use info@warriorspiritproject.org. That's really easy. But we would love to hear from anyone who wants to know more about our programs. And more than that, we would love to get you engaged in our programs. It's free. Everything's free.
Everything's free, and we're 100% volunteers.
Yes.
We don't get paid to do this. And we've been doing this for almost 9 years now. So this is just a way that we can continue to serve.
That's fantastic.
Before you go, I just want to ask you about, you said you connected with the Dallas Police Department, right?
Yes.
See, when you think about the old time cops, they're not really into yoga. They don't believe in this stuff. You know, they got that mindset. Is any of this being taught in our academies, fire and police academies throughout the state?
That I am not sure, but that's something that we have talked about as a necessity. It would be so important to bring it in early.
Yeah, I think so too.
We did bring some things to the Caruth Police Institute.
Yes.
But we have not been engaged with the academy ourselves, but there may be other academies that do incorporate some of these things, and they really should.
So Chief Eddie Garcia. So if Chief Eddie Garcia, the Dallas Police Department, is listening, you need to bring us into the academy.
There we go. Just call that DPD. I love it. Hey, that's what we do on this.
Hey,
podcast.
they've got us doing other stuff at DPD. So we just, yeah. I hear he's a great.
It is important. We've got your website up on the screen there, warriorspiritproject.org. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Again, you can follow them on Facebook, and you're also on Instagram. Go there, reach out direct, bring this life-saving and life-healing yoga to you. I really think we didn't even have a chance to talk about Carry the Load. I got the flag behind me. Continuum of Care program. We're both part of that. We've known each other for a long time. I've actually participated in one of your sessions and classes that you did out my way, and it is phenomenal. And because of you guys, I've actually put into my workout routine, which I work out 5 days a week. One day on Thursdays is dedicated to yoga, and it has really helped me out a lot. So from me to you personally, thank you so much. And Frodo is right there on the mat with me every time I do it.
Awesome.
Fantastic. And so Thursday night, we have an iRest meditation if you want to pop in anytime online.
Awesome. Will do. Take care, guys. We'll be in touch soon.
Thank you very much.
Thanks so much.
Thanks, John. Thanks, Sam.
Thank
You bet.
Good seeing you.
Yeah,
I absolutely, I mean, I love this, and I can't speak to this enough. The thing for me I've always had flexibility issues. Like, you put me in a weight room, you let me throw around, heavy weights or whatever. I'm doing that all day long. And it finally got to a point where it's like, okay, Sam, first of all, you're not getting any younger, and you've got to do not only the flexibility, but the breath work has just been so key for me to take the 30 minutes and give myself the gift. And we talk about, John, that paying attention to yourself and giving yourself the time, it is not selfish, because what Charla and David both talked about is that ripple effect that it has. And the iRest meditation and the yoga, I'm going to mess this up, the trauma-informed yoga, the way that they do it, it supports your body in a way that most things don't, because Jack and Steel is awesome and it feels great, but it still puts your body under stress. This doesn't. So please, go to warriorspiritproject.org, check out what they have. Like David said, one click, like one button.
Yeah.
John can do it, people. That's all.
That's right. You know.
Sorry, partner. I have to throw that.
No, Sam, you brought up some great points before we close out. You brought up some great points to take time for yourself. And, you know, I'm guilty of it more than anybody, is that we all seen that life gets in the way. We're always running and doing and going and moving. You know, we don't take time to take just 30 minutes or 15 minutes a day and spend it on ourselves for our mental health well-being. We always lose ourselves, or we make an excuse about, oh, I got to do this, or I got to clean the garage, or I got to put this up, or, you know, or we get involved in a stupid idiot box and flipping channels.
Or this.
Or the cell phones, right?
Yeah.
15 minutes, 20 minutes a day really can change your life, and you'll feel so much better. And I know when I was in Chateau Recovery, we were doing that yoga nidra every single day in the morning, and it really guided you through the rest of the day, and it made you, more aware of things. You absorb things a little better. You weren't the ADD-ish, because everybody has that little ADD in it. It really it helps you focus on the rest of the day, and you think a lot clearer.
Yeah, we can start a challenge. John and I, we're going to throw it out there for the next 30 days, and we'll be posting on our Instagram. Check it out at A Badge of Honor on the Instagram. We will be posting when we have taken that 15 to 20 minutes I-Rest meditation every single morning. You'll see it up there. So join us. Let us know that you're doing we are doing it, John.
When were you going to tell me this? When were you going to let me know?
I'm letting you know. We're doing
it. Starting when?
Starting tomorrow.
No, August 1st.
No, it's days. Always Monday, but we're starting tomorrow, partner. All right, so join us. We'll be on the gram. Hey, thank you to everybody out there. Thank you to our first responders. We're praying for you every day. Stay safe. And just thank you from the bottom of our hearts for keeping us safe here every day in our communities. To all of our veterans out there, thank you for embracing the suck and doing the hard stuff so that we can do shows like this every week and speak freely. To all of our active duty out there, thank you for keeping our shores safe across the globe, no matter where you're serving. A Badge of Honor. We hear you. You are not alone. Follow us across all social media platforms. Most recently, the gram. Like I said, we're going to be doing that little challenge. Connect with us over on the gram. And if you're watching on Twitter Live, hey, Twitter, how you doing? Or I should say Tucker Carlson's show. It's Tucker's new channel. Thank you for joining us there. LinkedIn Live, thank you so much for allowing us to go live there. John, take us home.
Once again, man, if you just use your resources, there's plenty of them out there. You don't have to use us. You don't have to use anybody that's on our show. You can use whoever you want, but use some sort of resource. And remember, animals are your best friends. Equine or puppy therapy, any type of animal, dirt therapy, whatever therapy works for you. Please take a bite out of it. Don't get frustrated, because the next one may save your life. And then that's about it, Sam. Use your resources.
We'll see you next week, everybody. Thanks a lot. Bye.
A Badge of Honor podcast is produced for the OBBN Network podcast and protected under copyright law. For content permissions, please submit your request to abadgeofhonor.com on the content page. For OBBN Network programming information, please call 214-714-0495 today.